There,
Hey,
there it
we're live,
is.
Bobby.
Yes. Okay, the Zoom. We're live.
Well,
Hey, we're live and Bobby cuts himself off. Is that it?
that's it. He got us to where we needed to go, and then he said goodbye, Godspeed, good luck. You got this.
Poor Bobby. He's got the Zoom virus. He accidentally hits the leave meeting instead of got it button.
It's the Zoom jitters. It happens to the best of us.
The Zoom jitters.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, Kaylin, why don't you let's welcome everyone to week 98 with a cheers on the Chardonnay. Now, I don't know what to say because all the time Doc or Joe always says something. So let me try my best. Back in 1575, when I was part of the committee that set the purity laws for Chardonnay, and oh no, not a good impression.
It's not it. Close. No.
Close. Exactly. I'll probably get fired just for that one line. So if I'm not here next week, I know, right?
Start the rumors, John.
Start the rumors now. Well, anyway, we want to welcome everyone to week 98. And I can't believe we've actually made it to week 98.
It's crazy, but it also feels like a lifetime ago that we started this, but also yesterday at the same time.
And I feel like, maybe a little room for optimism. I have family members that are nurses and EMTs, and they do a hell of a lot. And as Joe always likes to point out, the teachers and teachers do so very much and put themselves in front of this disease every day when they're teaching. So there are a lot of people we have to thank for holding us together. And no political discussion aside, all of that, but I am very, very happy that, we're starting to see numbers decrease as far as infections and hospitalizations and death rate go down. And it's never easy to lose somebody that you love. But for those of you that are joining us, we want to say thank you, welcome, and we want to offer a little levity to this rather long, drawn out process of the pandemic. But if you can join us at the winery, we would love to see you. It's been beautiful weather this week. It's nice and cool in the evening, but the daytime has been very pleasant outside. And it looks like we're in for more of that kind of weather in the next week. It's actually going to be springtime. So welcome to Texas. 2 weeks after winter is summer.
Or fall, spring, depends on the season's moods.
Right. Absolutely. So I'm not quite sure how Bobby plans on rejoining the meeting. Are you the host?
I just sent him the message. I've been super focused and tried to be discreet with my emailing.
Right.
But we'll get him back on. It'll buff.
Don't pay attention to me. I'm just texting.
I did it quietly on my computer, but we do have someone else joining us currently. We've got Joe coming on.
Oh, is Joe here?
No, perfect timing.
Fantastic. Joe, you missed my impression of Doc when we went live.
Oh, I think his audio is still connecting. So he missed also your confession.
You're here and you're live.
That's awesome. Great.
Yeah, so I tried to do my best impression of Doc when we signed on live because it was just Kaylin and I. And so I got a very different look from Kaylin because I said, from 1575, when I was on the committee for the purity laws of Chardonnay.
It's perfect.
I'm sure he won't see this.
Probably not. They're probably not watching it right now.
Oh, probably not. No.
Not at all.
Yeah. So welcome, Joe. Thank you for taking time out. We have you poured the Chardonnay yet?
I poured the Chardonnay. Hey, Bobby.
Hi.
Welcome back, Kaylin Hall.
Right, I know. This is the craziest thing. Maybe I need to download Zoom instead of just.
That might be a part of it. We'll figure it out. We can work through this.
Buddy, it's only been 98 weeks. You'll get it eventually.
Well, new computer.
That's a secret.
So I will say that I have just come from the golf. I've come from the golf course. My son had golf practice, and he pointed out to me, along with his younger 7-year-old brother, that he hasn't played golf with Dad in a while, and I said that's very important because I think Dad's ego is swelling back up again. He needs to get beaten. and Nathan thought that was very important, which I do too.
I'm putting money on Nathan all day long.
Let's see. So, absolutely lovely Chardonnay, the 19.
Yes. So these are all silver medal winners. Yes, Bobby?
From the San Francisco Chronicle for this year for 2022. So we are on the road to double gold
Right
with
on.
the three-part
I,
series.
So just real brief recap. Yeah,
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to say that, so every year we enter about 5 or 6 different national medal contests. Of course, Houston is extraordinarily important. It's one of the top ones, along with the Chronicle and the International. So that trifecta there, we like to get our wines in front of those judges. And these are panels made up of wine professionals in many different walks of life, from sommeliers to winemakers to distributors, the folks who deal with wine every day. And it's really nice. These particular contests are really nice to be judged by a group of your peers, basically. And the other thing is that, for the most part, almost all internationally minded people with lots of good experience, good palates. And I was fortunate enough to sit on a few of these as a wine judge. And I have to tell you, talk about the feeling of imposter syndrome. I'm sitting in a panel of people who are like, yeah, so back in 76, when I was taking a tour of the, I was just like, okay. So in 76, I was lighting off fireworks and 10 years old. Yeah, so it's really actually the reason we chose the contest that we did was for the gravitas of the people who judge. So when you get a silver, when you get a bronze, when you get a gold or a double gold, certainly double gold makes you feel like you're on cloud 9, but all of those awards are superior to the standard of those wines around you, and none of those awards are a bad thing to hang your hat on. And of course, Joe, aren't you supposed to be going down to Houston to pick up our 3rd saddle?
We'll be headed to Houston this weekend to do so. Looking forward to spending Sunday night on a date with David Bryce, head of sales at the Energy Center. But no, yeah, it's really excited. I was looking at that this weekend. We've got those 2 saddles in the front of the tasting room, and feeling excited about getting to go do that. And Mom and Dad have done it in the past, so I feel honored that I get to go get the saddle this year, and hopefully a few belt buckles that I can hand off to my little guys.
Oh yeah.
But I just had just as a question, didn't the Malbec which Malbec was the best in class at San Francisco?
I believe that was the Reserve. This is the Market.
Oh, that's right, the Reserve. Okay.
That's right.
Well, I have to say, so the last 2, the 18 and the 19 Reserve Chardonnays have been from Talent Vineyards.
Yes.
What John, just it's always been sort of we're lucky to get to have a duel between Mrs. Canada's Chardonnay Vineyard and Drew Talent's Chardonnay Vineyard. So what for you I'm curious, what are the characteristics for you that sort of differentiate the 2 vineyards in terms of taste, in terms of?
Well, I think one of the things is, Talent tends to have an extraordinary heavy weight in mid palate. For some reason, it's got a lot of beta glucose. The glucose production off of that grape is pretty heavy, so there's a lot more weight in mid palate. The 17 was a blend of the 2 vineyards, but the reason the last 2 years have been single vineyard, and we've done blends of the 2 at different combinations and stuff, but I really wanted to focus in on single vineyard, single varietal. As much as I've harped in the past about it doesn't always work, don't always pay attention. There's a really good reason for that, especially when you look at something like Chardonnay, an iconic wine that most of us as consumers are familiar with. who isn't familiar with the glass of Chardonnay at your favorite restaurant? Please give me the house Chardonnay, which it is honestly good. And for years, generally was the Kendall Jackson Chardonnay from Northern California. I mean, it was the #1 wine by the glass for decades. But so that really influenced the palates of a lot of consumers across the country. And this particular Chardonnay is from Talent Vineyard, and Canada's too. Canada tends to be more of a New World style Chardonnay, and Talent tends to be more Old World style.
I agree
And
with
that
that.
Burgundy, that white Burgundy weight is just fantastic. So unbeknownst to Rachel, I actually changed the barrel program around on this one, so don't tell her that. So when
Care to elaborate on that?
yeah, I sneak in and make everybody's life complicated. I will wake up in the morning.
Well,
with
yeah,
an
I mean, we
idea.
do that.
Yeah. In the middle of harvest, I'll be like, oh, hey, whoa. What if I do it this way? And then I'll run to the winery and we'll get it done. And my poor cellar master, Daryl, like, I'll come running in. And the first thing I'll say, hey, Daryl, I got this idea. And you could just see the look on his face. It's like, oh, shit, the 100,000th idea you've had in the last 3 days. Let us change our entire day today just for you, please. But yeah, so and yes, Rachel has quite the affinity for this vineyard. She's been taking care of the vineyard for the last couple of years as far as interacting with Drew and everything. This is her homage to winemaking and getting a vineyard down pat, and she does an excellent job. And unfortunately for Rachel, I always come in at the last minute and kind of change something around. So, and she'll ask why. We will talk about it. I don't just do it blindly, but usually, though Rachel, if she was on, would probably call me a liar. So the reason for it is tasting that wine straight off the press when we're pressing gives me the idea of what oak I want to put it in. I don't know if I can explain it any better than that. It has everything to do with palate memory and what you kind of thought about last year or the year before. What would we do if we did it this way? That's the time to do it. So, but these last 2 years, there's no arguing this quality of the juice has been great. And Canada's juice is excellent. And we could have 2 single vineyard Chardonnays just about. But her juice is also the backbone of a couple of other blends. And and there is a tiny amount of Canada juice in this blend. It's just not very significant. It's only a couple percent. So, to be vineyard designate, you have to be 95% from that vineyard.
It's incredible. It's funny in Texas. It's incredible to think that, I don't think there really are that many other big producers of Chardonnay in Texas.
No.
And, it's one of my favorite grapes. I love Burgundy. And I completely agree that this is very Burgundian in taste. So this is fun and yeah, it's delightful. It's beautiful. Bobby, Kaylin, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
All right.
Don't all jump.
Don't all speak at once.
Ladies
I got a little
first.
stage fright. So initially, I haven't tried the Chardonnay in a very long time. Bobby and I were discussing this before you joined us, before we went live, that I think we tried this maybe a year ago in an earlier virtual tasting. And right off the bat, it smells really almost sweet, maybe some yellow apples. I do get like a lovely bright Meyer lemon, which is gorgeous, hints of some soft florals and things of that nature. But I also am picking up almost pie crust, or maybe a bit of toast. And it's gorgeous. On the palate, it is absolutely lovely. You do feel that weight mid palate that John was mentioning. And now I'm just focused on trying to come up with a food pairing before the end of all this.
Kayla, I'm going to interrupt you because you've kind of put a word to something that's eluded me for a long time. That edge that I always say, that cellar-esque edge. The second you said pie crust, I smelled it, and that's absolutely perfect.
Right. No, 100%.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Almost a little
literally on the nose.
It's wet saddle leather, hands down.
It definitely
almost a little, or maybe a little puff pastry almost.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I'm assuming that this was aged Surly's.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Right.
We perform batonnage on it, which is a way of torturing the juice when it's in barrel. Doesn't
It just
matter how
makes
long
it-
you did it, it still wouldn't admit that it was the enemy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the batonnage is a process
But
of
this is a gorgeous wine.
stirring the lees up in the barrel while it's going through malactic fermentation. So that it keeps in suspension, helps build mouthfeel, weight, the viscosity increases, and a whole host of phenolic precursors are put into play there. So
Right.
Bobby, I liked your gesticulation on.
Yeah.
the-
Right.
exactly.
So yeah, no, I'm getting definitely like the almost like a gardenia on the nose.
Absolutely.
That floral edge.
Oh,
So-
Lane just said, my home server wouldn't let me on. I missed the opening, darn it. Would you all start over?
Well, and then Lane Schuhart made another comment that that he had our 2017, which would have been Canada, right, this afternoon, and that it's much different. We would agree with you. It's
Right.
different vineyard, different style, but something we do.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's a beautiful thing about Chardonnay, honestly, even from the same vineyard year to year. Compare the 19 and the 18 side by side, which I have actually done. Apparently I'm paid to do this. So grab an egg McMuffin, open a bottle of wine at 7 a.m. But the comparison, it is two different worlds. That 17 harvest, so uber ripe everywhere in the state of Texas.
Yep.
But 18 and 19 off of Drew's property, it's incredible. Yes, they're 1 year apart. They're 1 year, yeah, 18's a year older, but it's almost like two different vineyards. There are some similarities, but it's a brilliant thing to be able to do. So
Right.
maybe we should do an all white tasting, Bobby, sometime.
Yeah, down the road we'll do that. I've got a couple different ones on the mind for the next couple weeks, but yeah, we'll do that.
Oh, Lane just said, yes, I had your 2017 this afternoon to, nice. Yeah, it is much different. But, and then the 2016, I don't know if we have any left. That was the last all pure Canada. It was the 2016. The 17 is a blend, Canada and talent, mostly Canada, but a partial talent. So, but that 2016 is pretty good too.
Yeah.
Okay, Bobby, I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, not at all. Not at all. No, sir. No, I'm really digging the depth and the kind of that bready characteristic on the palate, the richness, how it just lingers. What are we sitting at here? That's 14.4 on the alcohol content, and but it's
Wouldn't
so,
notice.
so no, not at all. It's so just blended well and just balanced. So beautiful.
I'm pretty sure Gary Clark is going to get me fired right now.
You're still living in a mobile home, right?
Yes, yeah, the wheels can be dropped and I can move the house at any time. So good. Now the cats might have a few difficulties, but they're cats.
Well, they can stay. I mean,
They can stay. They're always welcome. Unlike me, they perform a needed service.
Right. What's fun with our Chardonnay, I think it's surprising to a lot of people when they come in there. They have a preconceived notion about how the butteriness of California Chard and how it's just too rich and oaky, and how I just try to showcase that, us here, we love the Burgundy and Rhone and like the Chablis characteristics and whatnot. And that's kind of what we try to showcase here in the wine of a balance, nothing, one two-way or another way, but just, right in the middle of the road, which I think this is beautiful.
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And yes, let's not forget Chablis, also a great expression of the Chardonnay. Or was it Sauvignon Blanc? I've got to talk to that.
Right, I want to wait. Hang on. I think you need to do that impersonating him, because I missed that, as did several others on the group.
No. Look, buddy, I'm Irish and I'm not altogether the most intelligent human on the planet, but I know when I don't want to lose my job. Yeah, exactly, Bobby. Or maybe more like this. Okay.
Damn it! Someone get that man some Jameson.
Oh, wait a minute. No, hey, look, this is called Irish Chardonnay. All right.
I'll work on a anagram for that one later.
So Susan is saying, I think this is my favorite Chardonnay we've tasted. Well, that I will take that kind of compliment any day of the week.
And John, I want to ask, and you kind of alluded to this earlier, but do you, obviously you're aging both, you know, when you make the Talent or the Canada Vineyards Chardonnay, you're aging it both in mostly French oak. Are you end up on average aging them, either of them more or less than the other?
No, we actually equal age, and they're 100% French oak, neutral or new, but it's not 100% new oak. But I don't use any American oak in the Chardonnay program. American oak, some very narrow portion of it can be used for white wine, in my opinion. This is my opinion. Let me state this up front before all my barrel reps call and scream at me. But the fact of the matter is, I very much prefer the tight grain of the French or Hungarian or Russian oak for Chardonnay.
Ruh-roh.
What? Ruh-roh?
Well, you guys have all frozen on my end.
Oh, well, it's okay. You're still animated.
Yeah.
But so those tight grained oaks, and especially the trees that, unfortunately, the really old trees that they get that tight grain were the ones that were growing in the last half of that mini ice age that ended around 1880. So things prior to that. So they're very, very tight grain, very cool climate. So you can get some of that in American oak, especially if you're in Minnesota. You can get some pretty tight grain, and some Pennsylvania oak offers some pretty tight grain. Missouri oak, which is a really good oak for red wines, it's just not quite tight enough to do an extended age on on white wines usually. So, but the French oak for our Chardonnay program, and we do age the Talent and the Canada equal portions of 24 months each vintage. So we're treating them fairly equally. Now we will split each one of them differently with yeasts and and how we treat them. But as far as the aging program, it's very similar.
So would American oak end up like kind of be a little bit more aggressive flavor profile on the white wine?
Bitter. Yeah.
Bitter?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you get too much of that aggressive tannin in there. Even with we still treat the American oak. We request the American oak be aged, the staves aged 36 months prior to building the barrel, the same as the French.
Right.
We work with a small group of coopers that are extraordinary. As a matter of fact, I just met with a couple of them this week. But they're very, very in tune. Most of them have winemaking backgrounds or come from winemaking families. So they're very familiar with the needs or the wants or the desires of the particular winery and what their oak wants. And that also makes my life a lot easier too, being able to communicate with somebody like that. But yeah, the American oak generally tends to be a little more aggressive on the tannin. So there's some bitterness that pops up that you almost impossible to get out of the wine.
Right. Awesome.
I always feel like Dad and I would like to age these wines for another, 4, 5, 6 months. You're always trying to get them out early. I mean,
Wow. Wow. Oh. Okay then. All righty then.
Yeah. there is a demand, know.
So
A demand, yes.
Well, it is a perennial argument because when we go, the best the wine will taste is in the barrel. Right then and there, it tastes great, and it won't taste that good again until a year after bottling. 8 months to a year, and that's why when the reason you handle the wine, exposes it to oxygen, it closes in, the terpenes close down. You've got to cleave those open, get those florals, those phenolics going again. So you really want to bottle several months before release. And it took us, and I think you remember this, Joe, when we first started 10 years ago, it took us a couple of years to slowly build up that idea of getting things in a bottle many months before release. we still have some issues, like the 2017 Tempranillo Reserve was so popular, it sold out so quickly, it actually forced our hand on bringing the next reserve, the 18 Reserve, forward a few months early. Wasn't bad, it just tasted young for a couple of months and then started kicking in. But
well, and unfortunately, we stopped winning gold and double gold. No, I'm kidding.
yeah, right. Yeah, and there it goes.
And hence why we're on the silver.
Right.
So I did pick up my application at Whataburger. Okay, so Charles, like, John, has anyone tried to make wine barrels from old white oak barnwood? Not that I'm aware of, Charles. You usually have to split the log and cut it specifically for the staves. So making a barrel out of already quarter sawn wood, I don't know how that would work, to tell you the truth. Fire or water bending that oak. Oh, wait a minute. Well, since I couldn't connect, maybe it was my VPN. I guess Facebook's not liking people using VPNs. No, Meta does not like to not know where you're at or who you are. So yes, they've put a block on that lane.
Yep. Yeah.
It's okay. We can invite Mark over for dinner and we'll chit chat with him about it. So.
Or we get my cousin on.
Yeah. Oh,
Yes. Yeah.
don't get him in. Don't get Jerry Smith in trouble.
Yeah. Right. Incognito.
Oh yeah.
So
That's awesome.
I might as well say so. I'll always love to share things about my family, and my cousin Andrew. I know. I think at least his mom's watching, and maybe dad. But cousin Andrew and I were. We spent many years working in the fields, working the winery. We were affectionately known as grape nuts or cellar rats at the time, and nice. some of the most
Nice.
which by the way, in French, I finally figured out that the French phrase for cellar rat is rat de chez, and grape nut is noix de raisin. But anyways, those are some of my favorite memories. And my cousin is a very brilliant young man, and actually is the head of the designing the Facebook app for anyone that has an Android phone. And but anyways, we spent a lot of summers out there in the winery, spending nights out there when before Frederick's, basically when all Frederick.
Joe, I think we lost you there temporarily. You may have to sign back on.
Oh, yeah, the voice lost off with the
I don't know, but the picture's awesome.
picture's great. Yeah.
He looks very passionate.
There he is.
There he is.
So I feel like I shouldn't say anything more clearly. Meta just turned me off because I was saying too much. So
Right.
That's gotta be it.
Needless to say, we're working with cousin Andrew.
Yeah, it was Andrew who turned you off before he got.
That's right. That's right. We're fired.
Okay, so does anybody else have anything else to say about the Chardonnay?
I'm excited about getting this released in the tasting room, but we
Oh,
got another vintage that we have to release before.
Well, no, the 18 actually went out for on premise, so they can find it at fine bottle shops and restaurants. The 19 will actually be the follow up to the 17 in the tasting room.
Nice.
Yeah, so we
Very
tried to split it that way to give people a few chances to try them both. Yeah, so
Cool.
And this is absolutely beautiful wine, John. And I think it's just going to get even better, the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I'm extraordinarily pleased with our Chardonnay overall, and we've gotten some good compliments. Like Charles said that he and his wife are usually anything but Chardonnay, and they're very much enjoying it. So that's always a good compliment too. Chardonnay, unfortunately, got a bad rap. Chardonnay is a beautiful grape, and it makes a beautiful wine. And unfortunately, myself included and fellow California winemakers were making butter slathered oak 2x4s out of the Chardonnay for a few years, and it was a popular style for a very small period of time. I think the true valor is allowing the fruit to express itself, allowing the varietal to be true, and then that's kind of the approach I've taken for the last decade and a half. The,
I think, John, this is a beautiful balance of fruit, and the oak is not overpowering. I think that the other problem I've always had with some of those Napa Chardonnays is they're too oak. There's too much smoke. But I have to say this is very nice balance.
well, I think one of the other problems, Joe, is people tend to serve Chardonnay way too cold.
Yeah.
Both in tasting rooms and at home or restaurants. And red and white should be served at the same temperature, with the exception of champagne, which should be served slightly chiller or cooler. But to be honest with you, 60 degrees is a great serving temperature, 60 to 65. If you can chill the Chardonnay down in the fridge, that's not a problem. Even the reds, I will do this at home. Put them in the fridge for a few hours, open them up, half hour, 45 minutes before service, pour them. And about the time people are sipping them, they're at a really good temperature.
Right.
So there's, and when we go on the rare vacation where we're gone for, more than 24 hours, we will put wine in the fridge and leave it there if I have to. I've got especially wines that we want to serve if we're coming back, or the things, you just put them in there. You can store wine in the refrigerator indefinitely. It's not a problem. You just need to bring it out and let it warm up before service. So you don't have to have the ideal wine refrigerator necessarily. You can shortcut that with the refrigerator you always have. A few of your good bottles, pop them in there. I've got a 2006 and a 1992 Jura white wine sitting in the fridge. Been in the fridge for a few years, yeah. So, and I love those because they come in bottles that look like rum bottles. And no, they're not rum. It's actually wine. So
well, I just want to one more shout. But I know we need to move on. But one more shout out to Lane Schuhart, who was said she was introduced to Chardonnay by Becker Winery, and now Lane is a fan. So thank you very much.
Right, yeah, and Teresa is agreeing. Yes, Chardonnay doesn't need to be frozen, right? Absolutely, especially when wines are served way too cold, you get no flavor. Some of the rather angular faults may show up first, and then you're like, is this really good? And then everybody's surprised when it warms up. It's like, oh, this is a decent glass of wine. But
right, because everything's so tight.
Right. All right. Shall we move on to the Malbec, the 19?
Yes, sir.
Malbec? So this I like because this is a wine you can find in any of your grocery stores / bottle shops. It's fairly well distributed throughout the state of Texas. Now, my Screen Actor Guild's union contract stipulates that I can't mention any particular wine shop or grocery store by name. So it's not like I would say HEB or Kroger. So I can say those. But yeah, I'm going to hear from David tomorrow, guaranteed. I'm going to get a call.
Right.
Yeah.
I heard what you said.
We should I think David would just love it if we gave everybody David's address and phone number and just said, just show up to David.
Just give him a call.
I don't.
He'd love to chat with you
David,
about
I wouldn't
wine
do
and where
that
to
to
find
him. David is actually a nice guy.
It's like everybody watching Facebook right now, look at your email.
Yeah, right.
Meta organized it. We're all good.
Yeah.
We love to tease David.
We do.
For those of you that don't know, David was a college basketball player at Duke. Was coached a number of developmental teams for the years. Coached Jason Kidd and had his background in coaching, and then got into sales. And so actually, he's a very interesting, very nice guy to chat with, and has been a big part of our success.
And he loves to fish.
Yeah, and he loves to fish.
Yes.
That's right.
That man, every time I've gone out in the market with him, he's either using a sports analogy or a fishing analogy to talk about what we're doing. I'm like, you're just making me hungry or tired.
And I will say, as much as we make jokes about him, he's got enough of he's got the zhuzh to be able to laugh it off and make all of the jokes right back. So he's just not able to do it right here.
Yeah.
My shout out to Debbie. There's no reason you need to apologize for opening up the Reserve Talent Malbec. It's a damn good Malbec, and it's going to have some similar notes, but we're going to speak to the market Malbec here. But Debbie, enjoy that Malbec. It's pretty good.
Yeah. No, one's really nice.
And Lane's like, this is not a wine term, but the nose is heavy. Can't wait to hear what y'all say. Lane, are you making fun of my schnoz?
Or mine?
What? It's heavy? Yeah, it's very aromatic, but it's got a dense perfume to it. You're absolutely right. So the nose is heavy. That's perfectly fine, and had no trouble following what you meant or what I think.
Right.
Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, the nose on this. So I chose a rather non-standard glass for this. You'll notice it's more of the Pinot style. I found by sheer accident that with this Malbec, opening it up, now it's great in a traditional Bordeaux glass, but I love the way the nose just comes flowing out of this glass.
Mm.
So Joe, what are you getting on this? And then we're going to put Kaylin on the hot spot.
Yeah. All right.
I'm looking at all my glasses, trying to figure out if I have one in reach.
I mean,
I know.
On the palate, hit by almost a beautiful strawberry note.
Mhm.
And on the nose, as you said, John, a lot of very nice perfume.
Mhm.
Almost a little bit of a velvet quality to it.
Right.
And just a very and kind of an interesting finish. Very mild tannins on the finish. But I'd love to hear what Monster has to say.
Oh, absolutely. So we need to explain why we gave her the nickname Monster. It's because it's a football term.
It would give me a moment to pour it into the larger format glass.
So
Beautiful.
our general manager Patrick named Kaylin Monster because for the defensive position in football, that's sort of designed to handle anything thrown at them. So Kaylin can really handle everything thrown at her with a smile and a joke, which I think is pretty amazing.
Except when I come in and steal the Ferrero Rocher chocolates off her desk, then she breaks down. I don't get it.
You're probably missing a few fingers.
That's what I did. I immediately hid them, and now I only pass them out occasionally.
Yeah, right.
They're emergency chocolates. I was explaining that to people. I was like, I have emergency stashes of many items. You never know.
There are secret compartments within our desks just for that reason.
Hide the candy from the winemaker. I got a very sweet gift from our events coordinator today, and she threw a bag of gummy bears at my head.
That's so good. Builds
So
morale.
And
So,
yeah, sorry.
Oh, sorry. I started getting into wine talk. I got excited because I've got now two
Please.
glasses for the same wine. So initially when I first poured this, I've never tried this distribution Malbec. This is my first, interaction with it. And on the nose and my logo Riedel glass, initially I picked up almost slate or graphite and white pepper, like heavy, those two items. And then I was not really able to pick up much fruit, which I found to be very interesting because in comparison, our 19 Reserve Malbec, I think is really, really lush. And so now I've switched over to, it's a Waterford glass, so I'm kind of cheating. I pick up maybe like almost pomegranate-esque notes, maybe some tart black cherry. I don't pick up as much maybe strawberry, but I'm definitely picking up more of the fruit components, and they are bright and tart, and maybe like a little hint of like toasted sugar or something, caramel, something along those lines. And I'm attributing that to the oak, but gorgeous on both. And maybe violet lives in this big old glass.
Susan Hanks wants to know what everybody's getting on the nose. She's curious because she's getting some, she's smelling something really spicy, but she doesn't know what. So
I'm going to vote white pepper, maybe the graphite edge, and then like maybe into the land of creosote, but not too far that direction.
Yeah, I'm getting almost like a hint of like rhubarb.
Yeah, well put.
And then a little bit of that pyrazine characteristic. So the bell pepper, kind of hatch pepper kind of nose on it. But yeah.
Kaylin, I think you have a potential stalker. She likes your palate. She may be coming after your tongue. So yeah, just saying.
I'm like, no, I have to go look.
No, that's not fair to do to poor trees.
And I did see Debbie Watson not asking about the Riedel tastings.
Oh, yeah,
coming
when
back
did
up.
it start up again?
We do have that on the way. Just need to order the glasses, get those. I mean, being from another country on another shore, it's difficult to get those this way. But
Well,
they are.
it's okay. I hear Arkansas is allowing Texans to cross back and forth.
But when will we start? When will we start doing the? Do we have some Riedel tastings?
We got to get the glassware in. Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
that's
That's,
Yeah.
duh.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there-
Susan,
I have a few sets, not as many as I would like. However, if you have a set, I'd love to have you out to the winery. We could taste together. We already have
Yes.
one.
What is it? BYOG.
yeah,
Yeah,
those 4-pack.
BYOG, bring your own glassware.
We ordered the 4-pack or the 3-pack?
We got the 3.
The 3-pack. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. So we are in the middle of working that.
Right on. So, Joe, any nose characteristics you want to expound upon before we go to palate?
No, I like the idea of rhubarb. Blaine Schuhart said baked fruit. I think that's a good thought. I like you do get a little pepper. You get a little pepper on the finish as well. And I'm guessing that this is going to be predominantly American oak.
Yes.
You know, and there's just a very, 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 very light, almost vanilla note. I feel like we get that integrates well into these wines.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, and I get a bit of mincemeat on there. So
Mincemeat.
there's a little clove, little dark molasses edge, but that mincemeat, traditional mincemeat smell. So almost bay edged.
And Carolyn, if you're there, I very much miss your mincemeat pie.
First, she does cherry turnovers. Now you're telling me your aunt does mincemeat pies.
She does all
Incredible.
things.
Pie.
Now, does she use the real real fatty
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I do know that her mother, my grandmother, Dad's mother, Floyd's, had an incredible mincemeat pie recipe where the secret ingredient was maybe like a tablespoon of orange juice. I don't know if Carolyn is doing that, but it really added a nice acid to that.
Yeah, when I was growing up, my grandmother used to make traditional mincemeat pie with the fat from around the beef kidney.
Yeah.
In there. So I know this doesn't sound appetizing, people, but but there's a lot of clove, a lot of cinnamon, a lot of allspice, nutmeg. There's
Thank you, Joe. I make my own mincemeat is her answer.
She's not giving up any secrets.
That's right.
There.
I think we kidnap Mrs. Callahan and force her to make cherry turnovers.
Yep.
Oh goodness.
That's cool.
I don't think I've ever had mincemeat ever in my life, and it is a confusing realm for me.
Sweet. It is a sweet pie.
I know, sweet meat pie.
Yeah, but there's not a lot of meat in there. So there's also raisins, currants. Yeah. So
Well, that sounds more appetizing than it did previously.
but it's the fat actually is necessary with all that sweet. Trust me.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a brand that we would get from World Market called Walkers. I think it's Walkers. And it's they come in these little, like they're tiny and they're almost bite sized. They come in a tin. That's what we're accustomed to, my wife and my son and I. But I'd love to try a traditional, like homemade mincemeat. I think that would.
So now is the time to put your mincemeat filling together and soak it in the brandy until Christmas time, and then make the pie. So there's a lot, as well as figgy pudding. There's a traditional pudding you need to make now and soak it all summer, and then do it for Christmas. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
We say hello. Hey, look, we got the whole team here.
Hey, there it is.
The word dessert was mentioned. Nolan's got
Nice.
Nerds. I love nerds.
and Nicholas has a ring pop.
Nice.
And Nathan just had to do his recent science fair, and of course, everybody that hasn't seen before, this is my senior and producer and director, and Nathan, my oldest, just had to do a science fair project, and John, you would be very proud to know that a science fair project was looking at the effect of different liquids on gummy bears.
Oh, that's got to be great.
Yeah, and different types of gummy bears.
Nice.
So, and then we of course had to do one round with vodka, just to see, and significant swelling, and very tasty.
Yeah,
So,
my head gets significantly swollen every time I drink vodka too. So. Oh, that's awesome. I love science fair. It is a great thing to go and view,
Yeah.
the different science fair projects. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we've
Hey,
got
buddy.
the Malbec. As everybody waxed eloquent on the palate of the Malbec, does anybody want to add anything to the palate?
So, John, do you mind jumping in and maybe I missed it, but what's the blend in the Malbec? Just
Oh,
think about
I knew you were going to ask me, and that's why I've got to go into my handy dandy.
Your notebook.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm being
So
black.
we should talk amongst ourselves.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. There's a
Feel a little
mountain
verklempt.
lion staring in at the door, looking at me like I'm his dinner.
So, Malbec's always been kind of an interesting, one of my favorite grapes. And, obviously being one of the five, just to remind people that it, was one of the five original Bordeaux blends, or one of the five original Bordeaux grapes. And much of it was wiped out by significant freeze and frost damage in the 40s, 50s. And so it has had a lot of interesting New World planting, particularly in Argentina. And it seems to just ripen so well in Texas. And John, looks like you're ready to.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. So it's 94% Malbec and and then it's 3% Petit Verdot and 3% Petit Syrah. So
Oh,
yeah, and it's we've got the Malbecs from Canada, Jet, Talent, and then PV from Ready and PS from Talent. The Petit Syrah from Talent.
So Brenda's got that, has a, as with all, a beautiful Malbec vineyard,
Right.
kind of there and back. And in that, dark rocky soil that the rest of her vineyard is in. And it's interesting that, I think that you've, as with, I feel like with a lot of her red varietals, we get a lot of these lighter fruit notes at first, but you've clearly bolstered that with the Petit Verdot and the Petit Syrah, and maybe a little bit of the Tokyo Malbec.
Mm-hmm. So those Malbecs from the High Plain are great, but they as true with most Malbec, it needs help in the mid palate. So
right.
but yeah, the fruit there, it's indicative of Malbec, what you're smelling and tasting. The others are not providing too much of the interference on that level. They are providing some back end support on the mid palate, however. Okay, Kaylin, do you have anything else to add about the palate to the Malbec?
Well, in comparison to what I was saying earlier on the nose, the palate it's still very bright, but it does come across very lush. I'm picking up more blue and black fruit on the palate than I was on the nose. Mm-hmm. And then the tannins are just velvety. I'm impressed, John. A lovely 2019 wine with soft round tannins. It feels nice. It doesn't feel astringent. It's really pretty. It's a pretty Malbec.
Oh, good.
It is.
Okay, shall we move on to the piece de la resistance?
Yeah, and as we're doing that, John, because I completely agree with what Kaylin just said. Real quick, just what is it that you think gives this wine this nice, beautiful, rounded tannins on the finish? Is it
It's the Malbec.
Yeah,
Malbec has softer tannins to begin with. Hence the use of Malbec and blending with Petit Verdot and Cab. We see Malbecs to some degree in some of the top wines of the world. When it comes to Bordeaux blends, some of the top Bordeaux wines of the world. Excuse me, I don't want to offend anybody, any Grenache lovers out there. Definitely Malbec has that. To me, Malbec has always had that cooking spice edge. By itself, Malbec can almost appear watery at about 4 or 5 on the palate.
Right.
Giving that little bolster with that Petit Verdot, giving that tannin tannic structure to carry through to the end. And that actually is very important because you get a lot of that retronasal fruit from the Malbec. If you can carry it through the end and out, then it becomes a more complete wine. Okay, shall we go on to what vintage of Cabernet are we looking at, Bobby?
This will be the 17 Canada Family Cab. Next week we'll enjoy the 18, but this week 17.
I can't believe it only got a silver.
Right?
Well, just to set the stage here, and I didn't get to do, I wasn't on for when we did the vertical of Canada, but there was a week, John, when you were out, Rachel was on and Jet was on, and one of our fans and listeners, Dwayne C. from Plains, Texas, wrote and made an interesting comment that said that when the grapes brought in from Tokyo, Texas, are on the same truck as grapes that are brought in from Plains, Texas, it tends to make the Tokyo wines better.
Yes, exactly.
A little bit of a stretch there on that, but
Dwayne C. from Tokyo, Texas, likes to stir the pot a little bit.
I think it goes both ways. I mean, they both like to.
You don't think Jet's a wallflower?
Yeah. I love the ribbing, and I
yeah.
saw that Jet was on earlier. He had mentioned saying hi. So hi, Jet, out there in Tokyo. Appreciate you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And go ahead.
Oh no, I'm just gonna make a comment that you can always look forward to speaking with either Jet or Dwayne, because you're gonna have a good conversation, a really serious conversation when they need it to be serious. But let me tell you, they will not let you go until they pull your leg one way or the other. So
I'm gonna make one comment again just about the Malbec, because Susan Hanks brought up an interesting point that people, and it's true, most people do equate Malbec now with Argentina, and it was a famous trip that my parents and brother and sister-in-law went on to Argentina that originally inspired creating the Raven, now Ranger Haze, which is a Malbec, kind of a darker, richer Malbec blend like Argentina, and that's
right.
And that's one style, and I think the Malbec style we just taste is a different style. Anyways, on to Cabernet.
Oh well, I have to tell you, coming from Napa, I'm absolutely in love with Texas Cab. So, yeah. I love the nose of this cab. I absolutely love the nose.
Oh yeah.
So so just to set the stage again, we're 5 years in, the Hurricane Harvey year, best vintage year in Texas, and every time I open this wine, every time I taste this wine, it just seems to get better.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the nose is even a little, I'm almost getting a little bit of a espresso or dark chocolate note on the nose. It's starting to develop. It's beautiful.
It is very beautiful. I could say the worst thing about doing all of these for 99 weeks almost is I get uber paranoid about developing a house palate. So I don't usually serve to myself. I will not drink a lot of Becker wine at home. Occasionally I will. Any wine that I'm currently making, been going on for 25 years. But the upside is every week I taste through these different wines, and that's always good. And I do taste them at work. But it's funny, having gone through this last year, tasting the Canada a few different times, even just in the last 2 years, 99 weeks almost. It's amazing how this is developed in bottle, even continues. The spice.
I agree with you. What are you getting on the nose?
So I get a little bit of eucalypt oil or menthol edge on this, which to me is indicative of really good Cabernet. That's the pyrazine that we most readily we most readily identify as bell pepper or grass.
Right.
Or something. As it matures, you get that menthol edge or that eucalyptus edge. That's what that turns into. Also turns into chocolate and coffee. Those are equal expressions on there. And Kaylin, you're going to have to unmute yourself and jump in about the nose here.
Okay, I guess I will. I try to be on mute because I never know when Zucchini Cat is going to make a grand entrance. And
Okay,
and
I almost
scream at
pointed
me.
the camera at the door with the death glare I was getting from the mountain lion. So.
Wait, explain Zucchini Cat.
So my cat, her name is actually Zucchini.
I didn't know
And
that.
yes, she's fantastic. She's the greatest ever, and the most spoiled cat and most dog-like cat I've ever lived with. She greets me at the door. She likes to be held like a baby and have her belly scratched. So like all normal cat behaviors out the window. But anyway, she likes to try to make appearances or scream at me from the floor while we do these, especially when she can hear y'all or me talk. She thinks that there's obviously an audience for her, and why aren't people loving her actively right now? And it's really fun. It's hard to explain to her. I think she speaks English partially. We're working on it. So on the nose, I do pick up that eucalyptus, maybe a little hint of menthol edge. But initially, mine had been sitting, and I had it sitting covered with a Post-it note because I feel like it traps in all my aromatics. Anyway, I might be insane. But initially, when I first picked up my glass, had not even swirled it yet, just took a sniff. It smelled it as if I had taken maybe bright red cherries and raspberries and cooked them down in butter with maybe a hint of bell pepper or jalapeno, like I was going to make a jam. That was the first thing I picked up for me. And then as I'm sitting there swirling along some air and some contact with oxygen, I picked up more of the menthol eucalyptus edges, maybe hints of a little bit of coffee, maybe some cacao, warm caramel, things of that nature. But it's just a gorgeous nose, and this is one of my favorite wines continually. And so
Right.
I'm very happy that we're back to it.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
I'm digging this 17 Canada Cab. I just noticed being here at the Main Street location, we've got a new shipment of those bath bombs, and I've got a stack of them right next to me, and I stacked two of them on underneath my laptop so that I can have a better view.
Oh,
And I'm
dear.
like, what is this smell? It's just like hitting me so hard right now. And I'm looking around and I look over and I see the
Yeah, it's
tag.
called bath bombs. Yeah.
And it's right in front of me.
Why do
So
we have bath bombs in a tasting room?
it's, oh my gosh, it just like,
Wow.
So I'm fighting so hard right now just to get the aroma of but it's so fun. Like, I mean, I'm digging, getting almost that cedar kind of character and edge on the nose, almost like that kind of smoked barbecue kind of a characteristic that just kind of showcases right in there. A little bit of raspberry edge that kind of peeks through.
I'm liking the way Gary Clark is saying the cab is dancing on his tongue.
Oh yeah.
And I got
Other
made
than
fun of when I put, sometimes you feel like dancing in a fountain on the back of the Jolie bottle. I don't get it.
That might have to show up in an email somewhere.
Yeah, right. This cab dances on the tongue. While bringing the evening to a wonderful crescendo of flavor, spice.
We'll bring that visualization to life.
Yeah, there you go.
There's
So
actually,
Teresa,
if anybody
Yes,
ever
sir.
wants to see something like that, the great wine writer Jancis Robinson, there's a great YouTube video of her. Somebody asked her to talk about the most pretentious wine description, the worst wine description she's ever get, most pretentious, and she's just absolutely wonderful, funny discussion. Anybody that loves to talk about wine, it's worth
Right
it's
on.
worth a YouTube search.
Perfect. Okay, guys, we are running kind of long here, and so I want to get to the food pairings, if that's okay. Does anybody have anything else to say about the cab?
No, just that whenever I will say, the only thing I will say is that I learned recently, we know of Mrs. Canada as the grape whisperer, that she's famous for singing to her wines. And so I know when I asked Wayne, or singing to her grapes, when I asked Wayne what she particularly likes to sing, he said Tiny Bubbles in the Wine by Don Hope. So cheers to Tiny Bubbles in the Wine by Don Hope.
I love Don Hope.
Yeah. Don Hope, yeah.
I know that's hard to believe. Excuse me. Oh, hey, Debbie just gave us an idea here. She said TikTok, Becker wine dancing.
I've been pushing this forever. Nobody listened to me.
All
I tried to
right.
get mom and dad to do the Harlem Shake a long time ago.
Oh my God, that would have been
I got
awesome.
stared at for some reason.
The Dougie.
There we
Oh,
go.
The Dougie, is that what you That's awesome. Okay, so Kaylin, pick a wine and pick a food.
Okay. So I'm gonna pick the Chardonnay. I'm gonna go back to the Chardonnay because I think that was the last time I was thinking about food. And I think either some sort of halibut dish or grilled chicken with just a lovely cream-based sauce would be fantastic. Whatever I'm doing with pasta, a cream-based sauce would be great with that Chardonnay. But I'm leaning halibut. I just can't complete the meal outside of halibut.
Sure.
So.
No worries. No worries. Bobby?
I am thinking about the 17 cab with our house-made fig jam and our house smoked pork tenderloin.
Ooh,
I mean,
Yes, that
would
the
be good.
combo.
That would be very, very good.
I mean, that's kind of what just popped in my mind right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently Joe ran away because he knew I was going to call on him. Yeah. So may I share something with you?
Please.
Because with both the Chardonnay or the Malbec, I'm going to choose the what I call pumpkin gnocchi al mascarpone parmigiano. So it's a pumpkin filling with mascarpone cheese, pumpkin, and then Parmesan finish. The sauce, it's a little butter, shallots, Parmesan Reggiano, little parsley in there, and of course some mascarpone cheese melted in there too for very richness on the sauce, but it would go very well.
Insane.
So yeah, one of my favorite cookbooks right here. It's called Sonoma County. It's Bounty. There are a lot of great recipes, and that mascarpone pumpkin gnocchi is awesome.
Well, if ever you decide to cook that dish, let me know. I will bring wine or other alcohol to your home.
Okay,
Gotcha.
This is another great. See, I marked 2 recipes in here too. This is another great cookbook. This is awesome. The tacos, tortas, and tamales.
I
And
saw
like I feel like
habanero
burrito
in there.
tacos would be so good with the cab too, and also the Malbec. The burrito tacos would
Well,
be
there's a pork shoulder one. It's a the Yucatan style tacos. Yeah, that very well
Love
with the
that.
good ones. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so Bobby, now that we're all starving, and Elaine says, "Yum, Bobby." And I was like, Bobby would taste very good barbecued. I think, nice muscle structure where we could put him. He'd probably feed 30, 40 people at least.
Yeah, probably easy.
Yeah, exactly. Joe, any food pairing and wine that you want to call?
Yeah, the first thing I thought of with that old world styled Chardonnay, I was thinking about the one of my favorite restaurants in New York City, La Grand Nuit, and their delicious Dover sole.
Yeah.
And for the Malbec, I'm about to go downstairs right now and make some gourmet smoked Gouda barbecue burgers.
oh, nice.
Okay, that sounds better than fish sticks any day of the week.
Absolutely. Love that.
Ooh, salmon, asparagus, and broccoli, Rob. Charles always comes up with a pretty good.
I love
gauge
broccoli.
there.
Amazing.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Charles always has a pretty good gauge on food.
Threw in the last name
Okay.
in there.
Now, Kaylin, you had a joke for us at the end of the broadcast?
Not here.
Wow.
Not here. Sorry.
So
Bobby,
Speaking of jokes, what did Michael Jackson name his jean or his denim company? Billy Jeans.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I like,
Well,
okay.
I just want to say since I was running late that as always, it is a absolute delight and privilege to spend these Wednesday nights with John, Bobby, Kaylin, you guys, and it's so much. We have such a wonderful extended wine family. I love spending time with people that are jumping on wherever you are. It's with every, I think we're hopefully starting to get to a better place in our world, but just be safe and just know that we're going to keep doing this every Wednesday because it's too much fun. And we like to torment John.
Thank
So,
next week I'm actually going to be out of town, but I will probably hop on my phone. So
Oh.
I was going to just not say anything after that preamble of I might get fired if I keep going this way. All right. So I would like to raise a glass at Bobby. Before we go, what's next
Yes.
week's wine selection?
Next week, so week 99, and as Gary Clark said, on to 99. We will be having this was the 19 Chardonnay, so we have the 18 Reserve Chardonnay from the Talent Vineyard. Then we'll have the 19 Claret, which, oh my goodness, it's so
Gold
amazing.
medal winner.
And then the 18 Canada Family Cab.
Gold medal
So
winner
that
again.
will be, yeah, that is the gold medal winners for 2022 San Francisco Chronicle.
Perfect.
Getting ready for our double golds for the finale.
Right on. Well, listen, I want to thank everybody for allowing us into your homes and hearts for another week. So
cheers.
Here's to a great week, a good glass of wine, and we'll see you all next week. Take care.